You might have heard it before. If you don't learn to control your emotion, they'll control you. But what if I told you that the people around you could be actively trying to destroy your peace? Imagine someone, maybe even unknowingly, pulling your strings and disrupting your inner calm. It might sound dramatic, but it's more common than you think. If you don't recognize these signs, you could easily fall victim to the emotional chaos they bring. Today, we're diving deep into 10 Stoic signs that can help you identify those individuals in your life who are slowly undermining your peace. And let me tell you, this isn't just about toxic people. It's about understanding how emotional strength and resilience, guided by Stoic wisdom, can help you regain control of your inner world. At the end of this video, you'll learn how to recognize these signs and protect yourself from emotional turmoil. I'll even show you one powerful Stoic technique to help you stay grounded no matter what life throws your way. Trust me, it's simpler than you think, and once you implement it, you'll wonder why you didn't start earlier. Sign 1. The need to control everything. When we think about control, it often seems like the solution to every problem. After all, if we can control our surroundings, our emotions, and other people, everything will be just fine, right? But is that really true? The Stoic perspective says otherwise. True control doesn't come from trying to manipulate every aspect of life to suit your needs, but from mastering yourself, your thoughts, your responses, and your emotions. It's a natural inclination for us to desire control over the world around us. We often believe that if we can control the actions of others, manage the situation in front of us, or steer the course of our lives just the way we want it, everything will fall into place. We even try to control our emotional responses, believing that by suppressing or managing them, we can avoid discomfort. But this pursuit of control is a never-ending cycle. The more we try to force control over what's beyond our reach, the more frustration and anxiety we create for ourselves. Think about the last time you tried to control something outside of your influence. Maybe it was a situation at work, or a conversation with a friend that didn't go your way. You might have felt frustrated or anxious, as if you were losing grip on your life. Perhaps you found yourself obsessing over the need to fix everything around you, trying to correct the situation or person. And yet, the more you tried, the more chaotic things became. The more we attempt to control the uncontrollable, the more we amplify the stress we feel. In essence, we become slaves to our need for control, constantly on edge and drained. The Stoic mindset offers a different perspective. True control lies not in the external world, but in the mastery of our internal state. Stoicism teaches that the only thing we can truly control is our own mind. The things around us, our environment, the people in our lives, are all beyond our influence. No matter how hard we try, we can't dictate how others act, nor can we control every situation that arises. However, our thoughts, reactions, and how we approach challenges are completely within our power. This distinction is key. Instead of trying to control others or the outcome of every situation, we must shift our focus to controlling how we respond to them. Let's consider a real-life example. A person at work who constantly tries to micromanage others. They want to control every project detail, how people perform, and even how the team interacts. This overbearing need for control can create a toxic work environment where stress and frustration flourish, leaving no room for creativity or collaboration. But if this person adopted a Stoic mindset, they could shift their focus from controlling everything around them to controlling how they respond to situation. Instead of getting caught up in every tiny detail, they could trust their team to perform their tasks while maintaining their own high standards of work. This shift in perspective not only relieves them from the pressure of constant micromanagement, but also fosters a healthier and more peaceful work environment for everyone involved. Think about it this way. Every time you feel that overwhelming urge to control an uncontrollable situation, pause and ask yourself, what can I actually control here? The answer will always be your own response. You can't control the behavior of others, nor can you dictate the outcome of every event, but you can control how you react, how you handle stress, and how you maintain your emotional equilibrium. This shift in focus will move you closer to mental resilience and inner peace, the very foundation of emotional strength. So, The next time you feel your mind spiraling, remind yourself that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from mastering your own reactions. When you embrace this mindset, you'll realize that most of the chaos you're trying to control is beyond your reach, and that's okay. The real freedom lies in choosing how you respond to it. Now that we've explored the need to control, let's take a closer look at how this desire to control often manifests in another way, through constant criticism. It's easy to get caught up in what others are doing wrong and feel the urge to fix them. But is that really serving you or them? This brings us to the next sign: constant criticism and judgment. Sign 2. Constant criticism and judgment. When was the last time you judged someone, or even found yourself overly critical of a situation? It's almost inevitable. We all tend to compare ourselves to others, and in doing so, we often point out their flaws, shortcomings, or mistakes. But here's the catch: constantly judging others isn't a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness, insecurity, and an inability to focus inward. The need to judge and criticize comes from a place of discomfort within ourselves, not from a place of strength or emotional mastery. The Stoics believe that criticism and judgment often come from a place of fear and dissatisfaction within ourselves. We may project our insecurities onto others, attempting to feel better by highlighting their faults. It's as if, by pointing out someone else's flaws, we can elevate ourselves, making ourselves feel superior. But here's the problem: this mindset doesn't contribute to our own personal growth or emotional stability. It's easy to get trapped in a cycle of comparing ourselves to others, but in the process, we lose sight of the only thing we can truly control: ourselves. When we constantly judge others, we feed into the mental turbulence that Stoicism warns us against. It's not just about criticizing someone's actions or words. It's about the emotional energy we expend doing so. This constant external focus takes away from the time and energy we could be using for self-reflection, for cultivating inner peace, or for practicing emotional strength. Rather than building ourselves up, we're tearing down others to feel better about our own weaknesses. But at what cost? Let's take a moment to reflect on a typical scenario. You're in a conversation, and someone says something that doesn't quite align with your perspective. Instantly, you find yourself thinking about how they're wrong, or maybe you even start judging their character. This is a natural reaction, and it might feel justified in the moment. But what happens next? Does it lead to any positive change? Likely, no. You've spent your mental and emotional energy criticizing someone else, while your own peace of mind slips further away. The more we focus on criticizing others, the less energy we have for personal growth, self-discipline, and improving ourselves. It's a vicious cycle that only robs us of our tranquility. Stoicism encourages us to stop looking outward and focusing on others' shortcomings. Instead, we are advised to focus inward. How are we showing up in the world? How can we improve ourselves rather than fixate on others' behavior? Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This teaches us that true peace comes from self-improvement, not from tearing others down. When we stop criticizing and judging, we create space for personal growth and emotional clarity. By looking inward, we can challenge ourselves to become better versions of ourselves, without needing to compare ourselves to others in the process. Imagine if, instead of judging others, you started seeing them as mirrors. They reflect your own virtues and flaws. Every time you feel the urge to criticize someone, take a step back and ask, what does this person reflect about me? Instead of pointing out their mistakes, focus on your response. Can you choose to be more understanding or patient, even if they're not perfect? This mindset shift can be incredibly liberating, and it will bring you closer to the Stoic principle of emotional balance. When we stop using others as a yardstick for our own self-worth, we free ourselves from the need for constant validation. As we shift our focus inward, we also develop the wisdom to recognize when we're being manipulated by others. That brings us to the next sign: gaslighting and manipulation. While criticism stems from judgment, manipulation is more about distorting reality to maintain control over others. It's a dangerous game that can destabilize your peace and mental clarity, leaving you emotionally drained. Recognizing manipulation is a crucial step in protecting your emotional resilience, and it's time to explore how to spot these tactics. Sign 3. Gaslighting and manipulation. Gaslighting. It's one of those terms you might hear and think, that's something that only happens in movies or toxic relationships. But the truth is, gaslighting is more common than you might think. It's the manipulation tactic where someone twists your perception of reality to make you doubt yourself, your memory, and your sense of truth. It's emotionally draining, and it's a surefire way to disturb your peace of mind. When someone uses gaslighting, they're trying to control you by making you feel like you're the problem, not them. And over time, this constant erosion of your confidence can shake your mental resilience to the core. A Stoic approach, however, gives us the tools to combat this. When we adopt the mindset of controlling only what is within our power, our thoughts, our reactions, and our emotions, we can spot these manipulative tactics before they take hold. Imagine this scenario. You're having a discussion with someone who continually tells you that you're remembering things wrong, that you're being overly sensitive, or that you're overreacting to situations that are, in fact, legitimate concerns. They make you question your own reality. This type of manipulation leaves you feeling confused and mentally fatigued. Over time, it can even affect your self-worth. But here's where Stoicism offers a powerful antidote: mental clarity. A Stoic does not allow their sense of self to be dictated by others. Instead, they cultivate an internal fortress of tranquility, one that is impervious to manipulation. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By focusing on your own perception and reaction, you can clearly distinguish between the truth and someone else's distorted version of it. So, what can you do to fight back? First, start by trusting yourself. Keep a journal or record your thoughts and experiences. If someone tries to gaslight you, you'll have a personal reference point to remind yourself of the truth. And when you encounter this kind of manipulation, remember, they are trying to take control over your emotional state, and the only thing you can control is your reaction. As we continue, let's talk about a more overt form of manipulation: creating drama and chaos. Where gaslighting tries to undermine your reality in subtle ways, some people thrive by directly stirring up conflict to maintain control. It's time to recognize how drama can rob us of our inner peace. Sign 4. Creating drama and chaos. Have you ever encountered someone who seems to thrive on chaos? Someone who constantly stirs the pot, even when everything seems calm and balanced. Drama, while it might seem like a way to get attention or feel in control, is actually a major disruptor of inner peace. When we let ourselves get swept up in unnecessary drama, we lose sight of what truly matters, maintaining our emotional balance and mental clarity. In the world of Stoicism, peace is not simply the absence of noise, it's the presence of virtue, tranquility, and emotional resilience. Those who create drama often do so because they feel powerless in other areas of their lives. The need for constant attention and the urge to be in the center of chaos come from a lack of emotional strength and a deep discomfort with stillness. For them, drama serves as a distraction from their own internal struggles. Let's think about a real-world example. Picture a person who constantly creates tension in your group of friends or at work. They may spread gossip, pick fights, or manipulate situations to keep everyone in a state of unease. This constant drama can drain your energy, cloud your judgment, and interfere with your ability to focus on what's truly important. It's exhausting. This is where the Stoic approach shines. A Stoic doesn't engage with drama. Instead, they remain anchored in their own peace. They focus on their values, their work, and their inner growth. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." By choosing not to get caught up in external drama, a Stoic keeps their emotional state intact, regardless of the turbulence around them. When drama comes knocking at your door, take a step back. Recognize it for what it is: distraction. By refusing to get involved, you safeguard your emotional well-being and avoid losing your focus. Instead of getting caught in the chaos, Redirect your energy toward what aligns with your values. This might mean setting clear boundaries, calmly walking away from toxic situations, or simply choosing not to engage in petty arguments. Now that we've explored how chaos can disrupt our peace, let's move on to another sign: an unwillingness to take responsibility. It's easy to blame others when things go wrong, but how does that affect your mental resilience? Sign 5. Unwillingness to take responsibility. Have you ever encountered someone who never owns up to their mistakes? They're quick to point fingers, blame external factors, or make excuses when things go wrong. Maybe they deflect responsibility, saying things like, "It wasn't my fault," or "This always happens to me." This refusal to take responsibility can be incredibly frustrating, not just for the people around them, but for themselves as well. This inability to own up to their actions doesn't just disrupt relationships, it can completely prevent personal growth and hinder emotional resilience. By avoiding responsibility, they relinquish their power to change and grow, keeping themselves trapped in a cycle of blame that clouds their mental clarity and blocks their path toward self-mastery. When we fail to take responsibility, we create an emotional void. Instead of facing our actions, learning from them, and growing stronger, we project blame onto others or external circumstances. This, in turn, prevents us from building emotional strength. In Stoic philosophy, self-awareness and responsibility are not just encouraged, they are essential. A Stoic understands that their true power lies in their ability to own their actions, recognize their mistakes, and learn from them. The Stoic approach is not about harsh self-criticism or lingering on failures, but about acknowledging our role in any situation so that we can grow and improve. It's about having the strength to say, "I could have done better," and then taking that lesson forward. When we choose to accept responsibility, we take control of our emotional state. We no longer become victims of our circumstances. Instead, we become the master of our reactions, empowering ourselves to respond thoughtfully, without falling into the trap of self-pity or blame. Think about it. When someone refuses to take responsibility, it often leads to frustration and resentment in those around them. Whether it's at work, in a friendship, or even in a family setting, this avoidance of accountability breeds tension. In a workplace, for example, a colleague might blame others for a project failure, instead of acknowledging their own shortcomings. This refusal to own up to mistakes not only damages trust, but also creates unnecessary conflict. Trust is foundational in any relationship, and when it is eroded by irresponsibility, it can take a long time to rebuild. On the other hand, a person who takes responsibility for their actions creates the foundation for personal growth and trust building. By owning up to their mistakes, they rebuild relationships, learn from their errors, and move forward with greater emotional strength. They have a sense of clarity and peace because they know they are in control of their own actions. This person doesn't waste energy blaming others. Instead, they use their energy to better themselves. By practicing Stoic teachings, you can cultivate a mindset of personal responsibility. When something goes wrong, instead of blaming others or external situations, ask yourself, what could I have done differently, and how can I grow from this experience? This shift in perspective not only boosts your emotional resilience, but also empowers you to take control of your own narrative. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and begin to see yourself as an active participant in your own life. This mindset helps you stay grounded and focused on what truly matters, your own personal growth and emotional strength. Now that we've explored the importance of taking responsibility, let's look at how this often leads people to fall into the trap of playing the victim. When we refuse to take responsibility, we tend to blame everything and everyone around us. But does that victim mentality really help you find peace? Let's explore that next. Sign 6. Playing the victim. We've all encountered someone who always sees themselves as the victim. Someone who constantly complains about how life is unfair or how everything seems to happen to them. While it's completely natural to feel upset or frustrated at times, adopting a victim mentality is a dangerous path that can rob you of your emotional strength and resilience. It keeps you stuck in a place of helplessness, preventing you from taking action and moving forward in life. The Stoics, on the other hand, teach us that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. The victim mindset denies this basic truth. Instead of embracing responsibility and focusing on what is within their power, the person playing the victim feels like life is happening to them, not for them. This mentality keeps them trapped in a cycle of negative emotions and missed opportunities for growth. Imagine someone you know who constantly complains about their job, their relationships, or their circumstances, but never takes any steps to improve things. They may talk about how things never go their way, or how everyone is out to get them. At first, it might sound like they just need someone to talk to, but over time, you realize that nothing ever changes because they're not willing to take responsibility for their own part in the situation. They choose to remain stuck, and this negativity becomes contagious. Adopting a Stoic mindset means taking ownership of your life, regardless of the challenges you face. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own destiny, even when life is difficult. Instead of complaining or feeling sorry for yourself, you focus on what you can control: your actions, your mindset, and your ability to respond with resilience. A great example of this Stoic principle is Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, who famously said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." Frankl's words emphasize that even in the most extreme circumstances, we still have the power to choose how we react. This is the core of emotional well-being and resilience, understanding that we are never truly victims, but rather active participants in how we respond to life's challenges. Now that we've discussed the victim mentality, let's explore how the lack of empathy and compassion can further erode your peace of mind. What happens when we fail to connect with others on a human level? Sign 7. Lack of empathy and compassion. It's easy to get caught up in our own world, to become so focused on our own struggles and challenges that we lose sight of the people around us. However, when we stop being empathetic or compassionate toward others, we not only harm our relationships, but we also rob ourselves of the opportunity to experience true emotional well-being. Stoicism teaches us the importance of empathy, not just for others, but for ourselves too. When we lack empathy, we create a barrier between ourselves and those around us, which makes it difficult to form meaningful connections and maintain our inner peace. Think about it. When someone expresses their pain, struggles, or feelings of sadness, how do you respond? Do you listen with an open heart, or do you dismiss their emotions, thinking they are weak or insignificant? A lack of empathy often comes from a place of emotional distance or fear of vulnerability. We might find it difficult to relate to others' struggles, but it's important to recognize that every person has their own battle to fight, and, by practicing empathy, we can help create a supportive environment that fosters mutual understanding and emotional strength. Imagine a scenario where a friend is going through a tough time. Maybe they lost a job or are dealing with personal loss. If you react by saying, "Oh, you'll be fine," or "Just move on, it's not a big deal," you're shutting them down. Your inability to empathize not only isolates them, but also distances you from your own capacity for compassion. However, if you take a moment to listen, offer your support, and simply show that you care, you allow both yourself and the other person to experience emotional connection, which can be a source of profound peace. Stoicism encourages us to practice empathy not only for others, but also for ourselves. This means accepting our own flaws and challenges with kindness and understanding, without judgment. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." By embracing empathy, we become more open to the human experience, both in ourselves and in others, which strengthens our emotional resilience. As we continue, let's look at another sign that can prevent us from finding peace: excessive self-centeredness. What happens when we focus only on ourselves and neglect the needs of those around us? This can be an important factor in disrupting our emotional balance. Sign 8. Excessive self-centeredness. It's all too easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everything revolves around us, our needs, our wants, and our struggles. After all, we live in our own minds, and it's natural to prioritize our own well-being. However, when we become too focused on ourselves, we lose sight of the bigger picture. Excessive self-centeredness prevents us from forming authentic connections with others, and can block our path to personal growth and resilience. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in serving others, in contributing to the greater good, and in being aware of the interconnectedness of all people. A person who is consumed with their own desires, constantly seeking validation or affirmation, is not just missing out on emotional balance. They are building walls around themselves, shutting out the opportunity for meaningful relationships and deeper fulfillment. Think about a person you know who seems to always make everything about them. They talk about their achievements, their problems, and their experiences, but when you try to share something important to you, they quickly turn the conversation back to themselves. This type of behavior not only leaves you feeling unheard, but it also creates an emotional imbalance. The focus is never on mutual understanding, but on individual gain. The Stoic mindset, however, encourages us to focus on others just as much as we focus on ourselves. It teaches us that to live a virtuous life is to contribute positively to the world around us. By practicing selflessness and offering our time, energy, and empathy to others, we not only help them, but we also enrich our own emotional well-being. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." Imagine how different your interactions could be if you shifted the focus from yourself to others. Instead of always seeking recognition or understanding, you begin to listen and offer support to those around you. This shift will not only help you build stronger connections, but it will also bring you closer to a life filled with purpose, peace, and resilience. With this in mind, let's dive into the next sign, instilling guilt and shame. How do these emotions affect our ability to maintain emotional balance, and why do some people use them as tools of control? Let's explore that next. Sign 9. Instilling guilt and shame. Have you ever had someone make you feel guilty for something you didn't do, or worse, make you feel ashamed of who you are? It's a heavy burden to carry, and it's a tactic often used by those who seek to control others. Guilt and shame are powerful emotions, and when they're manipulated, they can completely destabilize your peace of mind. These emotions make you second-guess yourself, doubt your worth, and can create a deep sense of discomfort that affects your mental clarity and resilience. Stoicism, however, teaches us that guilt and shame are largely unnecessary. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes or fearing judgment from others, Stoics focus on self-improvement and forgiveness. The key to emotional control is not in punishing ourselves for our perceived failures, but in accepting them, learning from them, and moving forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Imagine someone in your life who constantly uses guilt to manipulate you. Maybe they say things like, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this," or "I can't believe you would do something like that." Over time, these statements chip away at your self-esteem, making you feel like you're not enough, that you always need to do more or be more to earn approval. This constant emotional manipulation prevents you from developing emotional strength and self-control because you're forever chasing someone else's approval instead of nurturing your own growth. A Stoic approach to this would be to recognize these manipulative tactics for what they are, an attempt to control your emotion. Instead of succumbing to guilt or shame, you focus on what is within your control, your actions and your mindset. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By refusing to let others dictate your emotions through guilt and shame, you reclaim your freedom and preserve your peace. What if, instead of internalizing guilt, you chose to reflect on your actions with clarity and self-awareness? Instead of feeling ashamed, you could choose to learn from your mistakes and grow stronger as a result. This shift in mindset will not only help you regain control over your emotions, but it will also foster a sense of emotional well-being and resilience. Now that we've explored how guilt and shame can undermine your peace, let's move to the final sign, the negative influence on your peace and purpose. What happens when toxic individuals continuously threaten your emotional balance and block your sense of purpose? Let's discuss that next. Sign 10. Negative influence on your peace and purpose. Your peace of mind is one of the most valuable things you have. It allows you to think clearly, make wise decisions, and live with a sense of purpose. But what happens when someone in your life constantly disrupts that peace? When they bring negativity, drama, or toxic energy into your world? Over time, this influence can drain you, leaving you feeling lost, frustrated, and emotionally exhausted. The Stoics understood that the people we surround ourselves with have a direct impact on our mental resilience. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." The idea is simple. If someone is constantly pulling you into negativity, conflict, or emotional turmoil, they are stealing something from you: your focus, your energy, and ultimately, your ability to live with purpose. Think about the individuals in your life who make you feel drained after every interaction. Maybe it's a friend who always brings up problems but never solutions. Maybe it's a family member who constantly criticizes your choices. Or maybe it's a colleague who thrives on workplace gossip and tension. These people might not always be toxic in an obvious way, but their presence slowly chips away at your emotional balance. The Stoic approach to handling this is clear: guard your peace fiercely. This doesn't mean cutting people off impulsively, but rather setting firm boundaries. If someone's influence is consistently negative, recognize that you have the power to limit their effect on your life. You decide how much energy and attention you give them. You control your inner world. Imagine how your life would change if you surrounded yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you in meaningful ways, and encourage your personal growth. Instead of constantly fighting negativity, you would be directing your energy toward building resilience, wisdom, and emotional control. At the core of Stoic wisdom is this realization: your time and mental space are precious. If something, or someone, is disrupting your peace and pulling you away from your purpose, it's your responsibility to take action. That might mean redefining relationships, setting boundaries, or simply choosing to spend more time focused on your own growth. By recognizing these 10 signs in your life, you're already taking the first step toward reclaiming your peace and building an unshakable mindset. But now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs in your own life? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. So, there you have it. You've now learned to identify the signs of people who might be disrupting your peace, and more importantly, you've gained the tools to protect yourself. Remember, the Stoic approach is not about avoiding challenges, but about strengthening your emotional resilience so that you can handle whatever comes your way with clarity and inner calm. As you move forward, remember that you have the power to control how you respond to the world around you. When you adopt a Stoic mindset, you gain the ability to build emotional strength, to let go of things beyond your control, and to foster a sense of peace that is unshakable. Now, think about this. How can you start applying these Stoic principles today? Are there any signs of toxic people or negative influences in your life that you need to address? Take a moment to reflect on it. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you'll be able to stay updated on more insights that will help you build a stronger, more resilient life. And finally, share this video with a friend who might need a little help reclaiming their peace. We all deserve to live a life of emotional balance and self-mastery. Let's make sure we get there together.